Welcome back, everybody. So, the Pentax K-3 III. What's it all about? Is it any good? Is it not good? Should you get one? Should you not get one? Yeah, so anyway, okay, I'm going to apologize, but not really apologize. I did not jump the gun to create videos on the Pentax K-3 III immediately, because I try to do something more in depth with my channel. I want to make sure that I give you guys correct information in regards to inner workings of the system and the camera, and guide you guys based on knowledge. So I wanted to make sure I had enough time with the camera to go out and shoot and go into all the new features and options that the camera has, because you have to keep in mind that this is a completely ground up brand new camera that Pentax has never ever done before. So it's a lot to cover, and it's a lot to go through, and it's a lot to actually understand on my end before presenting the information to you guys. One thing is, we do actually now have continuous autofocus in video and 4K, and at the same time, I autofocus in the OVF, which I have tested, and it worked. I was shocked, but it worked. I've also done some testing on the subject recognition system, which is a mixed bag, unfortunately. But with that said, when it does work, it's absolutely incredible. But for this video, it's basically going to be, you just received your camera, you just received your K-3 III, you're happy, you just want to grab it and shoot. But wait, before you do that, there are some things that you should look at in regards to setting it up. So that's what we're going to do for this video, is walk you through the menu. It's completely different. There's some new options in there, and there are some important things that you should actually look at in regards to setting up your Pentax K-3 III for your first time out. So let's just get to it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is actually set the date and time. Now, you can actually link that with your smartphone in the wireless connection settings. It'll automatically pick up the date and time from your cell phone and just implement it into the camera. But what you want to do is go to the wrench at the bottom here, setup. Actually, you know what, before we get into that, there was another option. I think it was in the custom settings I found. And it's basically, before we had, was it the last menu item or something around those lines for the K3, probably K5, K70, KP, K1, where, when you go back into the menu, it just brings you back to where you had last left off. Well, now they've one-upped that, and it's called Remember Cursor Position. Let me just see if I can find where the heck that was. No, it's USB, smartphone link, store cursor position. So you want to make sure that this is on. Believe me, when you're navigating through this menu, and don't forget, this is all touch screen as well. I'm using the D-pad so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. So you actually want to turn the store cursor position, you want to turn that on. Because what that's actually going to do is every main category that you're in, it will remember where you last actually were within that category. For example, if I go to cropping, and that image can't be processed, okay, that's fine. But now, so that was on number 3, as you can see here, and cropping. Now, if I go to, go back to date and time, date adjustment. That's interesting. Why is it not allowing me to get in there? Ah, there. Huh. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so date adjustment. So you want to set up the date. Now, one thing to keep in mind is there is no 24-hour format, and there is no AM, PM. It's just 12-hour time. That's all you get. There's nothing else. So menu, if you want to just exit. And now let's go back through the main categories, and you'll notice cropping is already highlighted when you go back. So storing the cursor position literally recalls the exact position the cursor was in, no matter what menu you were actually in at that time. So that is, it's key. If you want to quickly, like if there's some menu items that you frequently do access, this makes it that much faster for you to be able to actually get to those menus or get to those menu items. For example, autofocus with viewfinder. This is basically, this is pretty much where I started when I was setting it up, right after I did the date and time. I just wanted to see what options were actually available. So you've got your single autofocus mode, continuous autofocus mode, autofocus active area. Now there are a number of options in here. You've got select small, large, for expanded, or spot, select small, expanded area, large, medium, small, select, which is one single autofocus point that you select all the way across the board. And you've got your zone select and your auto area, which is the entire field of view of all the focus points all at once. So it's like an auto mode. And then you've got an autofocus area restriction, so you can actually restrict some of the autofocus points. It includes left and right areas, because there's two bars on the left and the right that are not selectable. So this would exclude the left and right areas from being available as any of the autofocus points. They're as far over to the edge as possible. And you've got your auto AFS settings, your focus priority, release priority. You can choose to do what you want with those. Everyone's different. As you can see, I have my initial AFS as focus priority. First frame action in AFC I have as release priority. Action in autofocus continuous. Okay, I have it actually set up in a user mode. Right now I'm in manual, but in my user mode I actually have it different. I have first frame action as focus priority, and then release priority, or frame per second priority in action in AFC continuous. Hold autofocus status, you can turn that on or off. Action when autofocus fails, this is a new item. You can either have the camera continuously try to drive the lens, or you can have the camera just stop the lens where it is, and then you would have to re-engage autofocus for the lens to continue focusing. Then you've got your autofocus tracking in AFC. Out of the box, it's already defaulted to this. Uses both the autofocus and auto exposure sensor information to track the autofocus points. This is all tied into that whole subject recognition system. So my belief, you should probably leave that on for more accurate autofocus. And the type 2 is it just uses the standard autofocus information without the automatic exposure meter. So subject recognition, you just have on or off, and it explains everything. Uses subject recognition information to determine the autofocus point when starting autofocus in auto area and zone select. So subject recognition only works in zone select or full automatic autofocus, or you can turn it off. And there will be no subject tracking or subject recognition whatsoever. Then I always turn cache and focus on. I just always do. And that's it for the autofocus with viewfinder settings. Now there's autofocus with live view. They've turned it into two totally different things. And so autofocus active area, you've got your tracking, zone select, select large, medium, small, and spot. And then you've got your contrast detect options, focus priority, release priority, face detection on or off, and your auto exposure metering, multi-segment, center weighted, spot, highlight weighted. Multi-segment uses the 307,000 pixel system. You got your face priority auto exposure, and link auto exposure and autofocus point. I generally turn this on. I actually can't believe I didn't even do that. I usually turn that on just because I want the exposure on my targeted subject to be accurate. So I always turn this on so that the auto exposure lighting in the metering actually coincides with what I'm focusing on. And you've got ISO sensitivity setting. So there's some other options in here. You've got ISO upper limit, which I've set at 12,800 because this camera's high ISO is absolutely mind-boggling. ISO auto lower limit, I have it set to 100, and you can change this if you don't want to use 100, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to use that. Because I'm in manual mode, the rest of it doesn't really matter, but there is a minimum shutter speed when you're in an automatic mode. ISO auto with minimum speed, minimum shutter speed. Like there are some other options. People who have shot Nikon will be familiar with those options. And then you've got your various flash modes, red eye or not. Program line, we've got standard, high speed, depth of field priority deep, shallow depth of field, and MTF, which picks the best depth of field for you. And that's just for your basic setup when you want to go into your actual program mode in regards to what type of program you want to actually use. Auto exposure compensation allows the shift to be given to AV TV value in maintaining suitable exposure. So if you go beyond the metering in regards to your settings, the camera will automatically readjust or adapt to the situation to still give you a proper exposure. So I have that on. You never know. And white balance, auto white balance, multi-auto white balance. I actually should have changed that. Auto adjust for source. I don't know what that does. I'm still looking into that one. And then you've got auto white balance in tungsten light. You've got your drive modes, continuous shooting or not, a filter simulator, HDR capture, all these fun stuff. There's Astro Tracer, which only works if you have the OGPS unit, and the file format, RAW plus JPEG. I only have one card right now, but generally I would shoot JPEG to one card and RAW to the other. And you've got the crop mode, 1.3 time. I have that off as a default, but I've set that up separately. And then you've got your JPEG recorded pixels, JPEG quality, RAW file format, PEF, DNG, color space, Adobe RGB or sRGB, and your custom image settings, which apply to JPEGs. So you've got your bright, natural, portrait, landscape, vibrant, radiant, and muted. Flat, which I read up on this. So flat apparently is really good, especially if you're doing video and if you're going to be doing any post-processing of your images, you want to leave it as flat. And bleach bypass, reversal film, monotone, and cross-processing. Or auto-select. I guess it just tries to figure it out for you. Now with these, you'll notice that on the side here, it'll show contrast, sharpness, fine sharpness, like all the levels for all those sets as well. And just menu to go back one, digital filter, off, grainy monochrome, bold monochrome, tone expansion, unicolor bold, invert color, shading, high contrast, retro, toy camera, replace color, extract color. And I mean, this is for the JPEG shooters. You've got your clarity. Now, this is one thing with the menu. It doesn't really tell you much. It's just little icons. And to be honest, the icons are really, really tiny, so it's hard to really tell. I mean, okay, so type 2, this one actually explains it. Adjust hue, lightness, and appearance of the skin based on the detected face, and adjust the hue and lightness of the skin based on the detected face. So the difference between the two, this one's just hue and lightness. This one is also the appearance. I have it off. I just do everything in post. You've got your lens corrections, distortion correction, peripheral illumination correction, lateral chromatic aberration adjustment, and diffraction correction. So you can turn those on or off if you want. Dynamic range correction for highlight and shadow, noise reduction. Now, I've been shooting with this for a while. In my user mode, I've actually changed the noise reduction. Wait, that's slow shutter, high ISO. Let's see here. Let's see if it actually kept my stuff. No. So this is how the camera defaults with the high ISO noise reduction. It is pretty aggressive. You know, as I went through some of the images that I took, I was not overly impressed with the amount of noise reduction that was applied. In very, very low light scenes, it looks okay, but in broad daylight, shooting birds, there is a lot of detail loss. So I ended up, basically what I did was I based it on my K3 Mark I, which has a good ISO up to about 1100 or so. So I figured, okay, this sensor must be better. So I have, what I did was I turned all of these off up to 1600. 1600, I put it at low. So the first four are off. 1600, I have it set at low, which made a remarkable difference. 3200, I have it at low. 6400, I had it at low. 12,800, I left it at medium. Actually, no, yeah, I left that one at medium. 25,600, I left at medium. 51,200, I left at medium. 102,400, I turned that one up to high. I'm not going to be shooting at those levels though, so I might as well make these adjustments here. So 102,400, okay, so 204. Yeah. So that's how I have mine set. I'm pretty picky when it comes to the quality of the images. So that's how I have it set now. Shake reduction. Yeah, so the camera can kind of automatically figure out how to apply the shake reduction. Should it turn it on? Should it turn it off? You know, automatically detect if you're panning, if you're not, that kind of thing. So this is just basically automatic shake reduction, or you can just turn it off completely. Shake reduction automatically turns shake reduction off during the self timer. So always make sure that that's off. You know, I wouldn't even bother with the auto. You know, follow shake reduction settings even during self-timer shooting. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that the shake reduction is off when you're using a tripod and things like that. And then you've got your auto horizon correction. So some of these, I mean, it's the exact same as what it would be on some of the older Pentax cameras. Wow. Okay, so now we've got auto exposure, face priority. Okay, we already went through all those, I believe. White balance, yeah, okay. And for playback, you've got various options here. These you can actually, okay, so you've got one new thing here is touch image browser effect, which is basically using the, okay, that one can be magnified, fine. Basically just using the touch screen in order to preview your image. So just double tap, zooms in 100%. Why is this not focusing? There we go. So zooms in 100% and then just double tap, it zooms back out again. And yeah, so I mean, these are pretty much the exact same as what it would be on any of the other Pentax cameras. And for custom function customization, you've got save user mode settings. Now, the thing with the save user mode settings, I'll be straight up. Once you've actually renamed the user mode, it does not show up on any displays whatsoever when you actually pick it, which is unfortunate. I'll give you an example. I have mine here, U1. So you see there, U1. Well, U1 is actually my action, which I took the time to actually name, and it does not show up. So, I don't know. I mean, there are some quirks within this camera. The FX button, so you can customize all kinds of stuff. You can, like, basically what it does is it tells you which button it actually is going to be. So the shake reduction button, and then from there you can customize whatever functions you want that will apply to the shake reduction button. I have my exposure lock button set to turning the Wi-Fi on and off. So if you look at the bottom, you've got this little, whoop, just disappeared, the little Wi-Fi symbol. Right, so there's that, and let's see, and then yeah, just back to like the date adjustment, firmware options, certification marks, pixel mapping, dust removal, sensor cleaning. And that's one thing, they removed dust alert from the camera, unfortunately. And here's where you actually find your smartphone link options here. So store location info, boom. Stores location information obtained via smartphone to the image, or in the image. So you have automatic geotagging with a smartphone. Auto image transfer, so as you take shots, it'll automatically transfer images directly into the camera. Auto resize, it'll transfer JPEG images after resizing to extra small. Image transfer while off will set to continue or suspend image transfer when the camera is turned off. So there are a number of options here, and wireless LAN is just basically, you know, the communication info for the camera, and turning the Wi-Fi on and on. You've got your Bluetooth settings, pairing, communication info. So this will probably tell you, yeah, just the device name, and I guess the pairing is automatic. I haven't paired mine yet, or my phone yet. And then you've got your USB settings. Now the camera does actually come with Digital Camera Utility 5, not the latest update that was just released. So you would want to go to CD-ROM and actually, when you plug it into the computer, and it will actually load it as a CD-ROM, and you can get the program on your computer. And that's pretty much, I mean, the rest of it is pretty much the same. And there are a couple of other things. There's the night vision display, outdoor view setting, monitor adjustment. So you can change the colors on the monitor, guide display. Now, I'm not going to get in, I mean, there's a gazillion other things, but this video is long enough as it is. So, in a nutshell, that's basically how to set up your new K3 Mark III. And with that said, if you like the video, leave a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. It does help out. And if you have any, or if you'd like to support the channel, I leave that information at the bottom of the description. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more info coming up about this camera, because wow, is it a lot of camera. A lot. Anyway, that's it for me. You guys will see me on my next video. I'm out.